Just checking this is live. Let me go on the YouTube page and check. It takes a few seconds for the Hangout and YouTube to sync. Please do join me in the chat. It looks like it's gone live. So yeah, please do join me. As I said, we had some technical errors last week, and we have our first comment. Hello to Harry, who's my good friend outside of YouTube. So yeah, hello Harry. Hope you're doing well. Very hot over here in the UK. For anyone who's not a UK viewer, it is massively hot. Boxing Gossip said we'll call in for a check in about 10. So yeah, fantastic. We're getting some some action going. Anyone who's viewing, please give the thumbs up. Really helps the channel. And yeah, I was actually going to leave the fan in the background, but if you occasionally see me wipe my head, it is because it's absolutely baking over here. But yeah, let's get cracking. I have a list on my phone and some notes that that I've taken down, and I think I want would be of interest to everyone. So yeah, let's get cracking. Let's talk about the Box Nation card over in Wales, in the UK. Some good names, very, very good names. And I'm really looking forward to discussing and getting some opinions with, loads of you. What I would say is very, very tough to say this fight card was competitive. I thought it was very, very poor. So just for me, I'm not really too keen to talk about the competitiveness of this card in comparison to Matchroom cards or anything like that. But there were some good fighters on the card. Terry Flanagan, Guillermo Rigondo. The main event was probably the fight of the night, which was quite scrappy at points, actually. So yeah, it's just one of those ones. It's one of those ones, and we'll start from kind of the bottom of the card as we do on all the videos, and kind of go to the top. Jamie Conlan got a 2-round demolition job, I think it was. No interest in that. I don't really rate Jamie Conlan, to be honest, but congrats to Jamie. 2-round blowout, and he's moving onwards and upwards, possibly to a fight with Paul Butler. I think Paul Butler was supposed to be in a WBO final eliminator for Naoya Inoue super flyweight belt. So there's potential there, but I think he's really, really going to struggle. Ruffmus says, "What's happening, Jet? Hope you're well, Ruffmus. Hope you're doing good." Yeah. So as I was saying, he wanted to go see Rigo after breaking Jazza Dickens' jaw. We'll get onto that in a minute, but yeah, as I said, from bottom of the card to top, Jamie Conlan. I watched so many fights over the weekend and so much boxing over this weekend that I forgot a few things. So yeah, it's one of those. I will answer that question in a minute, Ruffmus. I'm just going to do a quick rundown of the fights, and I'll get straight into the live chat in a moment or so. Yeah, so Jamie Conlan obviously won. We'll move up to the kind of main fights on the Box Nation card. Terry Flanagan against Mazonke Fana. I mean, this fight, no interest to me whatsoever. Really, really poor. Just I don't understand. What Frank is doing with the Box Nation and Terry Flanagan in terms of marketing his so-called big star. It's really, really poor in terms of, he's third on the card. I know he was a late addition to the card and he was supposed to be in the Klitschko card, but it's really, really poor. I mean, in terms of what he was doing, it's silly, really. Him and Liam Smith are supposed to be the big, marquee sort of fighters for Box Nation, and he's just really sort of fluffed it. I know he was a late addition, but it's just you know, I find it really tough to kind of understand why he was quite so low on the card. But you know, he was on the card. He got an easy decision win. I thought it was a bit closer than 120, 106, I think it was. So two of the rounds were scored, or one of the rounds was scored 10-8, or two of the rounds scored 10-8. I think I was very unfair to Mzonke Fana. He was a wily vet, made things awkward for Terry Flanagan. And, you know, for me, he did pick up a few rounds. Terry Flanagan didn't look great for me. And I think if he looks at that against, you know, the upper echelons of the lightweight division, he'll really, really struggle. But for me, that's you know, that's another story for another day. I'm hearing rumors that he'll face Dejan Zlatikanin next. That could be a really, really interesting fight. Yeah, that was as LFC 91 said. You know, hope you're well, LFC 91. But yeah, I think he really, really needs to improve on the discussion of the lightweight division. You know, I know Bartholomew's moved up. That title's vacant now, but Richard Comey and Robert Easter Jr. are fighting for that title. So yeah, you know, that's a decent fight, but I don't know who really wants Flanagan at the moment. He's kind of in who needs him club, and it was, you know, it was not great to see him so low on the card. But you know, Frank probably knows better than me. Hopefully, he doesn't really you know, pay too much attention to this video and take it down due to, you know, legal issues or anything like that. But yeah, I'd like to see Terry Flanagan, you know, one, improve his performance, and two, be slightly higher on the card against better level of opponents. Guillermo Rigondo, one of the pound-for-pound fighters, top pound-for-pound fighters in the world. He was taking on our very own James Jazza Dickens. So yeah, my thoughts on the fight were, you know, Guillermo Rigondo didn't really move his feet much, but I think he was making Jazza Dickens miss at times, you know, just by the lateral movement, the awkward, the angles, the head movement, everything. It was just, you know, some of the things he was doing, was just absolutely superb. And, you know, he planted his feet. He didn't even dance around and move. And the first real clean shot, you know, he broke Dickens' jaw, like he broke Jazz's jaw. Heartbreaking, to be fair, for Jazza Dickens. Not that I'm an emotional sort of guy, but you know, you do feel for Jazza Dickens, British champion. He's coming to the biggest fight of his life, and you know, first shot, broken his jaw. But I think that kind of shows the level that you know, Jazza Dickens is at. And sorry, something went wrong. Hope it's okay. Oh, Tom. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Let me just wrap up this this Rigo bit, and I'll bring you in.
Good stuff, man.
Okay, cool. But yeah, Rigo obviously shows the levels that he's at, and I mean, he's a fantastic fighter. He's really, really splendid, and I think he's going to go. You know, I think obviously he's going to go places, but for me, it's a tough sell in terms of who he's going to fight, and you know what the potential options are. There is one fight that I think he may get, but it depends. We'll talk about that later in the show. It's a vacant world title, so I'll bring Boxing Gossip in now. Fantastic to have him on the line. Hope you're doing well, mate. Tom, how you doing?
Yeah, mate. It's boiling today, isn't it?
Mate, I'm sitting here like absolutely sweating my tits off. Like,
can you see me on the hangout? Because I'm doing it from my mobile.
Yeah, I can see you. Yeah, mate. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm donning the vest for you tonight, Jet, due to the weather. Yeah. Mate,
sexy as ever, mate. The aesthetics. I don't think the missus would like me hearing that, but you know, good that ends well. What do you want to talk about tonight? We'll you know, I don't mind. I'm quite flexible. I have a few stuff if you'd like to hear.
Yeah, mate. I'm just on the check-in. I'm here for sort of 10-15 minutes or so, if that works for yourself. Yeah, there's a few good stuff to talk about. One that I was interested to raise briefly. Did you happen to see the Virginder Singh fight?
I didn't get to see the whole fight, but I will get around to watching it. I heard, I actually checked your post-fight video, so I have an idea of what to expect, and they did talk about it after the Wales card on Box Nation. So, Yeah, I mean, do you know what? I actually thought Vijender Singh was a middleweight at first. I think he started at middleweight and he must have moved up. Sorry, but yeah, I didn't actually know he was fighting at 168. But yeah,
I might have got this wrong. I think he was at amateur middleweight, but I think all his pro fights have been at super middleweight. He's a fairly big guy actually to look at him, and he's in his 30s now. So I don't know how easy it would be for him to cut. But if he could get down to 160, that would certainly be interesting. But he's an interesting guy. I can't make my mind up about him. Part of me thinks he'll get exposed in the next year or two. Part of me thinks he may have something. But I guess that's the way with a lot of the decent class amateurs, isn't it?
yeah, definitely. Do you know? It reminds me of that. Speaking of that, is I tweeted you on the night as Giovanni De Carolis. He reminds me of that. Him and Tyrone Zoiga. They remind me a lot of that. They're very good in terms of what they do, and De Carolis kind of reminds me of a pretty dire version of Carl Froch. If you kind of see that, I mean, he takes a lot of blows. No real regard for his defense. He kind of relies on his big punching coming forward, taking using his face as a human shield. So I mean that the Carolis, it kind of reminds me of some, and they fight in the same weight class. Vijender Singh and De Carolis. I don't really rate De Carolis in personally, but I can see the sort of understanding that you have of Vijender Singh. To be honest. I read something today that him and Amir Khan would be a potential fight down the line, but they're so far away in weight classes. I can never see that. I mean, I can't see Singh cutting down to 160, and Amir Khan coming up. It doesn't seem plausible.
Yeah, I can't see that fight happening, mate. Vijender Singh must be 6'1".
Yeah, I checked his box rate.
Walking around, you saw what happened when Amir stepped up to 155. I don't think he wants to step up another stone in addition, does he? No.
Yeah, he'd be packing on the pies or something like to get there, man. It's just, I don't think it's a smart move. Vijender Singh is an obvious commodity for them in Asia, so they're trying to do with him what they could have done with Amir Khan when he was with Frank Warren, and try and build him as a big star in Asia. He's quite big actually there, so at the moment, so I can understand where Frank's coming from, but in terms of really hitting the top level of 168, I can't really see it, to be honest.
Yeah, he doesn't look the most versatile fighter, but having said that, if he's handled correctly, and if he's moved in some good learning fights, you never know. Maybe there's scope that he could beat a De Carolis or an Arthur Abraham. Maybe there is a bit of scope for that. I don't know. I certainly don't see him mixing it with the James DeGales and Badu Jackson this while. But maybe he can nick a title. What was interesting is on the Box Nation card in the UK, there were so many empty seats. It was ridiculous how many empty seats there were. But you go over to the card in India, and it was rammed. There were celebrities there. It looked like it had completely sold out, and that does say that perhaps Frank Warren's really going to keep this guy safe. He's not going to want to risk a commodity like that, as you say.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, mate. To be honest, he is quite big over in India, as I said before, and as you've seen there. But I think that's because they have a few Indian fighters, but they're nothing to the level of Vijender Singh, and he's an elite amateur. He's done well in all the Commonwealth Games, Pan Asian Games, those sort of stuff. So I'm not surprised at all that Frank's going to be keeping him relatively steady in terms of income. He's going to try and make as much money off this guy as possible and try and play it safe. So we'll kind of see and feel out where he goes, but. As I said, you're probably spot on. He's not going to mix it with the sort of elite 168 guys, but there or thereabouts. The Carolis, Zoiga, Fagan Boots, those sort of European fringe world level guys. He can probably beat them. I'd say that Zoiga looked pretty good for me. I don't know what your take on that fight was. If you want to have a chat about that.
Yeah, so on that fight, I think what I did at the time, I had two screens, and I think I had commentary on Vijender Singh, watching that live, and then I think I had the Zoiga fight on mute on the TV.
Okay.
So I was kind of looking at both, which kind of means you're not getting the best view, obviously, of either. I certainly wasn't listening to the commentary. So I'd say I've seen it, but I've kind of half seen it. And the first thing that struck out me is Fagan Boots and Zoiga are both Sauerland prospects.
Yeah.
They're both very young, aren't they? I mean, they're both really, really young.
Yeah.
And part of me thought the Sauerlands haven't done the best job here, because if they had had another year, if they'd had 2 or 3 more fights, they could be winning these kind of matchups. But they're just being put in a bit too soon. And I can't say I scored the fight properly, because as I say, I was watching 2 fights and I didn't, wasn't giving it my full attention. But I thought the Carolis won the fight, and I thought he won it quite handily. I know Zoiga started well, but I thought the experience, the age, and the toughness of the Carolis really wore him down. And I thought towards the end of the fight, the Carolis was starting to become more and more dominant. And I actually was surprised at the result. I thought the Carolis was going to win by a round or 2. Zoiga's got potential, but on the night, I thought the Carolis was the better fighter. But I take it you disagree. I take it you had Zoiga.
To be fair, I actually got in so late from work that I never actually got to watch the full fight. I watched it from about round 6 or 7 onwards.
Okay.
Because I only realised later on, I saw someone's tweet and I go, oh, it's on, so I'm going to go watch it quickly. So I can't really gauge. I'd have to go back and watch the early rounds. But as you heard and I heard, Zoiga done pretty well in the early rounds. I mean, his style is it's very hard to sort of rate in terms of point scoring. He definitely has skills. Don't get me wrong. He's very good, but he has this pitter patter sort of style at times. But then he has this really good punch selection, punch variety theme at times, and it's very inconsistent with him. And I think if he really keeps it consistent, he could be a really solid 168 guy. But I think he just kind of, I don't know if it's a lack of discipline or attitude or experience. I'm not exactly sure of Tyron Zoiga, but he's certainly better than Vincent Fagan Boots, to be honest. Fagan Boots I think was only 20 or something like that, but Zoiga looked much better than him. So I could see in terms of the scoring why it could have been a draw. In terms of why it was close, but I'd probably have to go back and watch it. But De Carolis was taking all he had and dishing out some. So on that note, I couldn't really score it effectively. But I wouldn't be surprised if either or won by 1 or 2 rounds. Zoiga got the nod on one of the cards, 115, 114, and the other 2 draws. So. It kind of shows that the fight was, tight-ish enough. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, Zoiga looked decent in there, but he looked like a boy compared to De Carolis, I felt. And I think he dislocated his shoulder around 11. There's just a few things like that. I just feel if he was slightly better prepared, it could have gone a different way. He was trained by Jürgen Bremer, interestingly, wasn't he? And he's quite a sort of tricky operator, isn't he? He's quite a sort of technician, I guess you could say, quite an awkward fighter. So, potentially Bremer's the kind of guy who can bring his game on and teach him a few veteran tricks and that sort of thing that will get him that experience a bit more quickly. But yeah, I think the right result really that the Carolis kept hold of his belt, and I wonder who he'll fight next. There was some suggestion, maybe even George Groves. So, we'll have to see what goes with him.
Yeah, I think they have the Sauerlands have another option on De Carolis, because they signed a sort of the deal when they signed and all these promotional deals. They have ties in with Vince Fagan Boots. So I think they signed him for a fight deal or something like that. They were talking about Arthur Abraham, who beat Lee Haug, I think his name was, the Norwegian kid, 15-1. He beat him in 8 rounds. Then Groves is a sound fighter. There's a lot of fighters there that he could potentially face. Interestingly enough, if I'm not sure if you actually caught it after the Carolis fight. Obviously, it was a UK studio, I'm sure, and Callum Smith and George Groves side by side. quite not pally, but you know, they didn't really have any sort of dirty words to say to each other. And you know, they were talking up a potential fight, and again, you know, that sort of fight has gathered a bit of heat. You know, they were talking about whether one of them would beat the Carolis or Zoiga, and you know, they said they're pretty confident. Matthew Macklin was on commentary with actually a refreshing change from the, you know, the sort of Jim Watt, Nick Halling, dastardly, deathly duo that bores you to death. But so, yeah, he was a bit more fresh on the mic, and he said he backed both Smith and Groves to beat De Carolis or Zoiga. So yeah, there's potential there. I mean, you know, he has, as George Groves said, he has some name value now in Germany. He's fought out there a few times, had a couple of close decisions, but he's certainly not a candle to the other 168 champions. I think Fedor Chudinov will beat him pretty handily. James Icknell will smash him. Well, no, I wouldn't say smash him, but you know, he'd probably embarrass him, I think.
I don't think he should be underestimated, De Carolis. Look, he clearly isn't the most skilled boxer in the world, and you'd pick some of these guys to have a real edge over him in terms of class. But De Carolis is the kind of guy who's going to be there for 12 rounds. He's the kind of guy who's going to come on strong. He looks fit. He looks, you know, just like strong, like tough guy. And for me, that is exactly the kind of fighter who could cause George Groves problems. I'm not saying I'd pick De Carolis to beat Groves, but you could see De Carolis making it horrible for Groves in the championship rounds. And you know what George is like later on in a fight. That's not a certainty for George Groves.
Yeah.
Actually picked Callum Smith for a much stronger chance of beating De Carolis. I'd say Callum Smith has a 90% chance of beating De Carolis, where, as I'd probably say, George Groves only has like an 80% chance. But I guess that's where styles make fights a bit, really.
Yeah, I think I was going to say something about George Groves, but he brought up an interesting point, actually. He said, you know, Baddy Jack, he fancied himself in a rematch against Baddy Jack. Obviously, Callum Smith, he said he was waiting on the WBC mandatory position and seeing what they're doing with it. He said he texted Eddie Hearn and he's quite pally with him about the Callum Smith fight, and Eddie never texted him back. So, you know, make of that what you will. But, you know, I mean, George Groves is at the sort of top level of 168. He's not the best fighter in the division, but he's, you know, there or thereabouts. He's in the top 10, probably number, you know, 7 or 8, possibly something like that. I'd have to kind of go in the rankings with a you know, pen and paper and actually do it properly. But I mean, De Carolis, in terms of his style, I could see him giving George Groves some problems, but I think he was hurt by Fagan boots in the first fight, albeit it was controversial the way he lost. Very close split decision. But you know, for me, in terms of that fight, I didn't see him winning that fight. He got hurt by Fagan boots, who's, you know, a boy. Fagan boots is a 19, 20-year-old boy. I think George Groves would horribly care if he went in, you know, with that style. But I can see him giving him problems.
Yeah. I think he's got that style where he's going to be. It's not that he's tricky to beat, but it's just that he's the kind of guy who can make life pretty difficult for you.
Yeah, he grits his teeth, I think, like something like that.
Yeah. What you said earlier about a sort of poor man's Carl Frost, I mean, as I'm sure you'll agree, it's a very poor man. But nevertheless, I think you're spot on there. I think that you're probably about right in terms of that analogy. But yeah, there's a place for him in the division. You know, there's a lot of fighters with different styles. He can potentially be thrown into the mix. Mate, I've got to run off. But yeah, I hope to catch up with you soon, and I do appreciate you having me on.
No worries, mate. Feel free to come on. I'm going to try and do it regularly. You know, work commitments getting away, but I won't take too much of your time. I'll catch up with you on Wednesday. I might be late on Wednesday because I am working up until about 8 o'clock-ish. So I'll have to race home and you know, do some sort of Ferrari stuff on the road. But yeah, we'll email you and we'll sort it out.
Yeah, no worries, mate. We'll get you on when you're ready, and yeah, lots to discuss. I'll send you a note tomorrow with some topic suggestions, even though they kind of pit themselves with some of the action we had on the weekend. But yeah, look forward to it, mate. All the best.
Yeah, take care, man. See ya.
Cheers. Catch you soon.
Bye. So, guys, that was boxing gossip. Big shout out to him. Thank you for coming on. Really appreciate him coming on, and you know, he's a great guy. Go check out his channel, boxing gossip. He has you know, many more subscribers than me. So yeah, it's just one of those. It's getting a bit dark outside. I'm not sure if it's just my screen, but it's getting a bit dark outside. I'm actually going to go turn on the light. So bear with me for 1 minute. I think that's slightly better. Yeah, so we'll kind of go back and retrace our steps. I mean, we're talking about George Groves versus Callum Smith. George Groves, in terms of what you know, in terms of him and Callum Smith on the sort of commentary team or punditry team. So we'll kind of leave that to one side, and we'll talk about the rest of the card, the Carolis versus Oigar, that we kind of covered as well. We'll talk about you know, Edwards and Agogo, but we'll go back to the Box Nation card. Liam Williams versus Gary Corcoran. You know, decent fight. It was probably the best fight of the card, but in terms of the card, the fight itself, I didn't really find it. You know, I didn't really find it great. I thought Liam Williams was winning the fight pretty handily. I thought it was very dirty in the fight, actually, to be honest. I've never seen Liam Williams fight like that. But, you know, Corcoran is one hell of a dude. He's got, you know, he's got a really good chin, and he sustained some, you know, big blows. So, you know, big respect to Gary Corcoran. He can come again at some sort of, you know, British level if the other guys, Liam Williams, Liam Smith aren't there. Liam Smith's obviously got a big fight against Canelo. I got some a bit of chat on that, actually, venue and stuff. But yeah, I mean, you know, Liam Williams retains his British and Commonwealth titles. You know, I'm assuming he's going to go down the European route, probably move up to European and fringe world level. You know, the guys at European level aren't bad at 154. 154 is a very good division. You have Michel Soro, Blandamura may move down. You know, you have those sort of middleweights and light middleweights that there or thereabouts. You know, Jack Corsey is potentially fighting Demetrius Andrade, or Demetrius Andre, however you want to say it. That's been ordered by the WBA for their regular title. So there's a lot going on at 154. Liam Williams can try to move up and, you know, kind of put himself in a good position if he keeps on winning and winning well. He said it was one of the worst performances of his career. Probably agree with him. I haven't seen him, you know, look. I haven't seen him look that bad, but maybe that was the occasion getting the best of him. I know there was some needle between him and Gary Corcoran, and you know, that may have just been a one-off thing, but he certainly needs to improve if he's gonna push on and you know, get to world level or get to even Liam Smith's level, and, you know, just headlining the shows and that sort of stuff. So yeah, I mean, that fight was there. Rigo, we were talking about the levels. I think everyone got the gist of what I was trying to say about Rigo. Yeah, another opponent. They said, sorry, he said to Frank Warren that he would come over whenever it is. So yeah, I look forward to actually seeing him over here in a meaningful fight. Hopefully, you know, it is good and it's not just some sort of a pitter-patter fight. It is a really decent fight. I want to see him in the hard competitive fights. You know, potential there with, you know, I don't think it will happen, but there is potential there for someone like Zolani Tete to fight him, who's another fighter on the Frank Warren banner, on Queensbury banner. So you know, that would be, you know, a fight for the real purists. Fantastic fight. Zolani Tete is really skilled. Guillermo Rigondeaux, we all know how good he is, and he's a, you know, pound for pound sort of fighter, skill wise. So, you know, it'll be really interesting to see that sort of fight. As I said, I'm going to move on. I'm going to talk about Charlie Edwards and Anthony Ogogo. Anthony Ogogo obviously was on the fight, the fight card in Germany. He's co-promoted with by the Sauerlands and Golden Boy. You know, Anthony Ogogo has had awful opposition since he's come back. I know he's a prospect and that sort of stuff, But the sort of level he's in with, you know, I could probably go out there and beat some of the guys he's beating. They're awful. I mean, Agogo, I don't know if he's big for the weight, but these guys they're picking, they're just, you know, they're the midgets compared to him. And Agogo's just finding it easy, just, you know, knocking them out in good time. But I mean, it just really is bad. I mean, it's just it's really bad. LFC said, I'm surprised Sauerland didn't give Groves the Abraham fight. I am too, actually. LFC. I think I think it's pretty stupid of Kalle and Nissa Sauerland not to give him the fight. In terms of you know, Ramirez, he's a really good prospect. Well, now he's not really a prospect anymore. That he won a WBO world title, but sorry. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things, and he definitely Groves will, you know, be there or thereabouts. But we'll have to wait and see where he can go and how high he can go. You know, he's got the Fedor Chudinov fight possibly for the WBA super title. That's potential there. He could face the Carolis, as me and Boxing Gossip spoke about. So there is potential there for George Groves. Please do, you know, comment and put your thoughts in the chat. Keep posting out. There's a grand total of 5 people watching. So yeah, the 5 people that are watching, please do comment. Jay McDonald, I could see him moving up at Rough Muss as well. You know, that fight's been talked about a lot, but it might just be publicity. But I think Jay McDonald's one of those fighters that can definitely hang with the top boys. He's probably second best at bantamweight, you know, only to Zolani Tete. I think Zolani Tete is really skilled. I think he's the best at bantamweight. Jamie McDonald for me is number 2. He has 2 solid wins against Kameda. So yeah, it's just one of those things. It really is a waiting game for Jamie McDonald. He got good pay for fighting a journeyman. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to see Jamie McDonald in action again. One of my you know, one of my favorite fighters. To be fair, I like his style. It's a very unfashionable, but also, you know, very educated and very smart. It's very awkward, and some of the things he does is very advanced, very advanced. So yeah, he's a fantastic sort of fighter. But yeah, moving on. As I said, we've got 6 people watching now, so please do put your thoughts in the chat. I'll try and make this a longer one, actually. You know, hopefully it gets everyone enjoying this. But yeah, as I said, we're going to move on. We're going to talk about we're really going to talk about, you know, the PBC card in America. But yeah, as I said, Rigo, just prior, there is something I do think he may go after, but I'm going to discuss that after I finish this, and a bit of the, you know, Charlie Edwards, I can say now. Charlie Edwards had a blowout, you know, in terms of pitter-patter opponent, and he obviously won on the undercard. And yeah, I mean, he'll be moving on to bigger and better things against John Will Casemiro on the Kell Brook Golovkin undercard. So yeah, good luck to Charlie Edwards. I think he's very good. So we'll just have to wait and see. With Charlie Edwards. In terms of Arthur Abraham, obviously won the fight. We spoke about him. There's plenty of stuff going on. There's plenty of stuff that we actually discussed between me and Boxing Gossip. So yeah, moving swiftly on, we'll talk about Deontay Wilder and Chris Arreola and the rest of the undercard. Erickson Lubin was on the undercard. He's a light middleweight 154 prospect. You know, he got 8 rounds under his belt. He's not blowing people out like he used to. He's done well for himself. You know, got 8 rounds on his belt against a sort of very durable opponent. So credit to Erickson Lubin. I think moving up in levels, I think he's a bit flat-footed. I've always thought that since he started out, since I watched, you know, pretty much his first or second fight, very flat-footed. Reminds me of kind of Julian Williams, J-Rock. Very skilled. I think they're both very skilled, but you know, flat-footed. That's the only thing. I think Julian Williams is a bit I rate a bit higher in terms of, skill wise. But Lubin is there or thereabouts in terms of talent. He's very good, but I think he's flat-footed. I think he just needs to work on that. He's still young. He's still got plenty of time. So let's see how far he goes. I mean, moving up, I wouldn't say it's a tough fight to score. It wasn't a tough fight to score. I think Felix Diaz won. Very good win for him. Very close fight against Lamont Peterson in his last fight. I think that was down at light welter, if I'm correct. But I think this was at welterweight against Sammy Vasquez. Sammy Vasquez, I've always thought was pretty decent, to be honest. But in this fight, he was flustered. I think he was just really, really struggling with Felix Diaz, with the angles, the movement. And I think Felix Diaz definitely deserved the win. And Sammy Vasquez, credit to him, he's come out and said, "I know in my heart, I lost, and the better man won on the night." So credit to him. He's come out and he's accepted defeat like a true champ. So well done to him. But Felix Diaz is not a sort of opponent that you want to take lightly. You certainly don't want to, take him on short notice, which I think Sammy Vasquez did. Somewhere I read that, but I'm not sure if that's too true. But yeah, Felix Diaz is certainly a problem. He looked quite small against Sammy Vasquez, but at 140, I think he's a handful for anyone, to be honest. Adrian Granados beat Amir Imam. So he's got a fight soon. A fight between those two would be pretty decent. The sort of other people, I wouldn't mind seeing him against Ricky Burns. That would be a decent fight. Yeah, that would be pretty decent. There's some other opponents there that I'd like to see him in against. Victor Postol versus Terence Crawford is actually this weekend. So I'll briefly speak about that in a bit as well. But yeah, I don't know if he'd be good enough to compete on those two fighters' levels. But he's there or thereabouts. I think he's a pretty decent fighter. So yeah, good win for him. Deontay Wilder, WBC heavyweight champion, fought with one arm and looked really, really good against Chris Arreola. He was sporting some sort of burn mark or something on his right arm. So credit to Deontay Wilder. He looked really, really good against a sort of decent opponent. And it was a decent performance. LFC says, I didn't actually catch the PBC card, but I heard a lot of people ripping Wilder. Was he that bad? I mean, seeing the highlights looked easy enough work, especially with a broken hand and ripped tendon. Yeah, I'm gonna come on to that in a bit, Rough-Muss. Keep posting you guys' thoughts. I really want to interact with you as much as I can. LFC, to be honest, I don't think Wilder looked that bad. I actually think he looked pretty decent. In terms of his previous performances against possibly, Johan De Paul, Eric Molina, he looked much, much better. And Omegan said, do you think with Deontay bending the bar in his hand, it may start to become a recurring problem? Yeah, I do think it's a real problem for Deontay Wilder. I think, this is a sort of consistent thing that's gone on. And, we've seen it happen with many boxers who've had this problem. Darren Barker's had this sort of hip problem, hip replacement. So, it really, especially with the hands, it's not something that you can avoid in terms of sparring or, pad work or that sort of stuff in training. I think it's a real problem. I thought Wilder was actually very good in regards to LFC's comment. I think he looked much better. He showed some composure. He was quite wild in dropping in Arreola. When he dropped Arreola, I think I can't remember what round, but he dropped him, and he did look quite wild. But in terms of on the whole, he looked very patient. He knew what he was doing. He used the left jab with relative ease, and Arreola really couldn't touch him, to be honest. And Wilder was just hitting him at will. Do go watch the fight. In terms of just watch Wilder himself, and I think you'll be slightly more impressed with him in terms of in terms of how well he did in regards to his previous fights against Artur Spitska. He looked really bad. I hope I didn't butcher that name, unless it's Artur Spilka. So whichever the one, please don't rip me in the comments after this goes live. So this goes off air. But yeah, I mean, he looked really bad in those sort of fights. In this sort of fight, he didn't look too bad. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on Deontay Wilder. He didn't look too bad. But yeah. Yeah, Megan, I think you're spot on, mate. Like, I haven't seen him show that sort of patience. Yeah, I think you're spot on. I agree with you to the hills, mate. Like, he looked really good. And Box Talk were actually saying that as well. And I know Ryan certainly does not like Dion, as he calls him. So, I mean, it's one of those tough ones. I mean, it's what you like, really, to be honest. And I didn't think it was a bad performance. I thought it was a pretty decent performance in terms of having one hand. He certainly showed some a lot of bravery, actually, a lot of bravery and heart and guts. So credit to Deontay Wilder. Certainly, got my respect on that. He got in with a busted hand, and he really just put it on Areola and dismantled him for 8 rounds before he quit. Moving on to the, as I said, I didn't see the Vijender Singh fight. We've spoken about the sort of, Abraham, to Carolis, and all the weekend's action. So I think the weekend's action has been thoroughly enthralling in terms of some of the stuff that has come out. Kind of post fight, not really during the fights, but post fight certainly. I think obviously Charlie Edwards having a world title fight. Rigo potentially coming back over to the UK. Terry Flanagan versus Latikanen. There are fights there. Carl Frampton could be a potential opponent. As you said, Carl Frampton against Santa Cruz, Rough I'm going to go with Santa Cruz. And I don't make that face lightly. But I just think Santa Cruz has got a bit more to his game in terms of Carl Frampton. I thought Carl Frampton was pretty average against Scott Quigg, and Scott Quigg, as we know, is not the smartest of boxers and that sort of stuff. He showed a lot of head movement and lateral movement in that fight. He did Quigg, but I think in terms of Santa Cruz, I think his high punch output and busy style, and it would just really fluster Carl Frampton. And Carl Frampton being at a new weight, I know he said he's struggled a couple of times at Super Bantam, but I think he's very small for featherweight. And I think being the first fight up there, I think he's going to struggle with Santa Cruz, and I think Santa Cruz will probably take a wide unanimous decision. I wouldn't say wide as well, like 9-3 or 10-2. I think something like 8-4, potentially 7-5. I can see it, but I think 8-4, something like that for Santa Cruz. Irish Tom, I don't think he's going to like that on the podcast, but yeah, I'm going against his Irish buddy. But I think Santa Cruz has got more than enough to handle Carl Frampton. But yeah, they're potential opponents for Rigo moving forward. If he comes back down to Super Bantam after, if he does lose this fight, he doesn't stay up at featherweight. So there are potential opponents there for Rigo. Deontay Wilder, he called out Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, said he wants all the belts. So there's a lot more stuff coming out. Sammy Vasquez obviously lost, so maybe they might not push him as hard. Felix Diaz has obviously made a name for himself now. Terry Flanagan, IFL has uploaded a video about Jazza Dickens and Rigo as we speak, so just got a notification of that. But yeah, Terry Flanagan against Latikanen possibly. There's a lot of stuff, potential future fights and future paths. My thoughts on all of that are, I mean, Rigo, I really think he needs to be in a meaningful fight, as I said. That's the be all and end all, to be honest, on Guillermo Rigondeaux. Terry Flanagan, I think he really needs a tough fight in terms of if he's going to go after Latikanen. I think he really needs one of those tough sort of grueling 12 rounders, against a really durable opponent who will actually test him as well. He won't just be a punching bag for 12 rounds. If you look at Andy Crawler versus Terry Flanagan in terms of money, stature, last few fights, resume, I think Andy Crawler's done really, really well. Last 3 fights, Ismael Barroso, or last 4 if you're going to, count the sort of a Linares fight that he hasn't fought yet. But in terms of the leading up to Linares, he's been really, really good. And he's shown a vast improvement. Darlis Perez twice and Ismael Barroso. So, really, really good for Crawler, and he's really raised his profile. He's won a world title in fights that, some people thought he may not have enough in all 3 of the fights as well. So, you compare that to Terry Flanagan. Terry Flanagan, Diego Magdaleno, who's really small for lightweight, and he's not as good as his brother Jesse Magdaleno for me. There was also Jose Zepido, who popped out his shoulder. So, there's nothing he could have really done with that. But, it's you comparing it to Andy Crawler, but it's a hard sell for Terry Flanagan. Mzonke Fana, I thought Fana was going to get blown out, but wily vet, done what he had to do, and Terry Flanagan didn't look great in the fight. Maybe that was due to Fana and being very, very awkward. But Terry Flanagan is one of the top lightweights in the world. He should be taking these sort of caliber guys out for me. So it's tough. I think he needs to just go against someone like a really, really durable sort of guy. Edis Tatley's the European champion. I wouldn't mind seeing against Edis Tatley, and that sort of stuff. Those sort of opponents, even European fringe world level. Even if you're fighting, someone there who's fighting at a level, but he's clearly above. I'd like to see it. We'll have to wait and see, really, with Terry Flanagan and Frank Warren. Let's see how Frank deals with him. As I said, there's lots of other stuff. So coming out of the weekend, there's been a lot of potential fights. I think we'll definitely talk much more about it on the podcast on Wednesday. Guys, the comments in the chat have dried up a bit, so please do put your thoughts down. I don't think you guys want to hear purely me just ranting at the screen without bringing any of your opinions in. So please do put your thoughts in the chat. We'll move on. Wednesday there is a IBF Super Bantamweight World Title fight. For those of you who do not know, Shingo Wake, who was the mandatory to Carl Frampton, is fighting Jonathan Guzman. Guzman is a undefeated prospect. Shingo Wake has lost 4 times, I think, quite early on in his career. NFC, going back briefly, fair play to Fana. Yeah, look, Fana is, he looked about 2 to 3 weight classes below Flanagan. Flanagan looked like a Hulk, compared to Fana. Flanagan has never really had that much power, to be honest. The Magdaleno fight really, really flattered to deceive in terms of he looked like a huge, monstrous puncher because of fighting Magdaleno. I think Magdaleno was a super featherweight. But yeah, Flanagan's power is certainly not elite level power at lightweight. I think it's not. He's not sort of devastating one punch knockout artist, or he's not like a hurtful puncher himself. But in terms of how he generates his power, I think it's through mainly, I'd say, accuracy and timing. He really picked people off well. I think he did that to Fana a few times, and he did hurt him. Fana, for me, would be better suited at super featherweight. I think he's a bit too small for the guys at top guys at lightweight. If you can even boil down to featherweight, he I know he's an old guy. He's 42, I think, but fair play. That's your opinion on Fana, but I just think he's a wily vet. He comes to try and spoil a bit more than you know, try and actually win. He did win a few rounds for me. I will say that, but he certainly doesn't come to try and, you know, open the floodgates and you know, swarm the opponent or really just make it really uncomfortable. It reminds me of kind of an Isaac Chilemba, you know, a slightly poorer version of that Isaac Chilemba. Isaac Chilemba very skilled actually though, so you know, maybe there's a slight comparison there, but that's the sort of person I'd be comparing him with. Rothmas says, who is your favorite boxing YouTuber apart from myself? Well, I certainly wouldn't say myself. My channel is very, very small, so yeah, certainly not myself. But I'd say, you know, IFL up there. They gave us some great content. I enjoy their stuff. I don't have one in particular. I like quite a few. Yeah, he certainly stood up to a few good shots. LFC, certainly, mate. I'm keen to hear your thoughts on the Carolis fight. If you saw that against Rigo, you know, if you have an opinion on that, please do put it in the chat. But yeah, Rough I think IFL are very good. You know, I like the interviews with all the fighters, all the promoters. It gives us a good insight into you know, daily sort of stuff. You know, Boxing Gossip. Obviously, I've been watching his content for you know, for ages now. So I think he's fantastic. I think he's really good. Box Talk are really good. Shout out to Box Talk. I watch their stuff as well. Every time it comes out, I'm always straight on it like a tramp on chips. So yeah, I mean, they're sort of the guys that I will consistently watch from pretty much a day-to-day basis. You know, there are sort of other guys. Ultratech Sports, actually, I really like Ultratech Sports. Shout out to Ultratech. Great channel. You know, boxing banter and that sort of stuff. You know, the expletives are quite amusing. I would say that. I'm not gonna say I'm the holier than thou, and I'll never swear, but certainly try to keep the swearing to a minimum on my shows. But yeah, he gives me he gives me some good crap, to be honest. So those sort of guys, you know, there are some smaller guys as well that I like. Dave Champion obviously started his channel. I've been in contact with him a fair bit on YouTube. You know, Path to Glory as well. Shout out to those guys. They're a bit smaller than me, but you know, I like a lot of people, and I don't really have a favorite. But the day-to-day sort of guys will be the ones I've just talked about. The three and the slightly smaller ones, if they upload, I'll be watching it straight away. If I don't comment, I'll definitely be liking and enjoying the videos, regardless of what I'm doing. So yeah, those are kind of the guys I like, and you know, I hope to be. I hope my opinion. I hope my opinion gets out to many more people, and you guys are enjoying the stuff I give. You know, I've been a bit low on the sort of video count, but I try to cover everything on a live show and try and do separate videos. I'm trying to think of some different stuff to do. I will try and, you know, kind of go to the Boxing Gossip, you know, model and try and get people on Skype. That will be done soon, but at the moment I've just got a lot of work commitments to do, a lot of you know, other stuff going on in the background. So you know, if I don't upload daily, that is why. It's just it's been a really busy couple of weeks. Literally, it's been crazy busy. But fantasy matches, Megan, fantasy matches. For me, you know, there are people on you know, the YouTube boxing community that tend to do them. I'm not necessarily clued up with every single historical thing. You know, which I don't know if you guys will find bad or not, but my historical knowledge is not the greatest in comparison to other people's. I'm more of a contemporary sort of guy in terms of the last, you know, 10 to 15, 20 years possibly. I know my stuff there, but you know, going past that, I think it's a bit of a tough sell for me to do it. And I don't want to get any facts wrong. You know, I get some sort of stick on Boxing Gossip's channel for getting stuff wrong, and I don't want to give you guys the wrong sort of information. Fantasy matches in terms of contemporary boxing, I'd be happy to do that if that was something everyone would be interested in. But I'm thinking of just trying to do something a bit innovative and try and do something a bit different in terms of contemporary boxing of what I already do. Just try and mix things up a bit, not do the same old, same old. But yeah, we'll see how things come along. But yeah, moving on, I'm going to speak about Joseph Parker. Actually, I'll speak about Joseph Parker in a minute. Shingo Wake is facing Jonathan Guzman. I think Jonathan Guzman will probably win that fight. I don't really rate Shingo Wake. Sorry, Shingo Wake is decent, but he's the sort of opponent that you should be beating if you're world level. And I think Jonathan Guzman, I don't know how good he is. I've seen a bit of his stuff, but I think he should be beating the likes of Shingo Wake. There's a potential opponent there for Guillermo Rigondeaux, but I don't know how feasible that is for Guillermo's team to sort of go over there and fight whoever it is, whoever the winner is. So we'll have to wait and see, really. Joseph Parker's obviously fighting on Thursday, which is a bit of an odd day. Luckily, I am actually off, so hopefully it's on at a decent time that I can actually watch it. He's facing Solomon Hamano. Hamano is a Australian heavyweight, and he's the sort of the guy that you should be beating. I've been going for close to an hour, so yeah, I was just checking the time. Hopefully, I'm not boring you guys too much. As I said, we've got to all-time high of 7 people watching, so and we're at 5 now. So hopefully, I'm not boring you guys too much. But there seems to be some sort of dodgy sound outside. But yeah. Anyway, I think in terms of sorry, I lost my place. Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker's obviously the IBF mandatory. He's done well to get himself in the mandatory position. He's had a really tough fight against Carlos Takam. Yeah, what he's really done, he's been very, very good, and I think in sort of how he's built up to the position he's at. But I think this is a massive step down from Carlos Takam. I would have liked to see him face, a sort of, decent opponent, Artur Spilka, Dimitrenko, Fedosov, those sort of guys that are at the level that they could probably take his power. Spilka maybe, I'm not sure, but that would give him problems. They'll give him real problems and make it real frustrating for him for the 12 rounds. Joseph Parker looked gassed in that fight. Showed a real, I wouldn't say poor conditioning, but I don't think he had a regard for his actual condition going into the later rounds. In terms of the championship rounds. So I think in terms of as I said, in terms of his development, he's done pretty well because he's fought Carlos Takam, who's a top 10 rated guy, but this is a massive step down. Hamano, could, if he's any decent, he could make it a bit awkward for Joseph Parker. He has the potential to make it. Potentially banana skin in terms of making him look bad. I think he may make Parker look bad at spots if Parker sticks around. So I think so I do think it's not a good fight for Parker to take, but he's keeping active. He is keeping active. He's doing what he needs to do, and credit to him. Good on him. So hopefully, he comes through unscathed. He might get another fight in the sort of fall. I think the purse bid for him versus Anthony Joshua is scheduled for November sort of time, and they want the fight to be done in sort of earlier on in 2017. Possibly January, February. I could see it possibly happen in March, to be honest. But I don't really give Hamano any sort of real chance against Parker. I think Parker will probably win by, I'd say, late stoppage. But we'll have to wait and see with Josie Parker how he comes along. There is a few more stuff. We're obviously talking about Groves versus Cam Smith. So I will wrap it up, fairly shortly. If you guys do have anything you want to say in the chat, please put it down. We'll be wrapping up very soon. Hope you've enjoyed it. And if you have, please do leave a thumbs up. Canelo versus Liam Smith is actually, set in Texas, which is a bit surprising. I thought it might be in Las Vegas. I don't know if this will. I don't know if this will affect Liam Smith's purse or anything like that, but yeah, it's in Texas in the AT&T Stadium, where I wouldn't say that is the best sort of stadium to showcase Liam Smith or Canelo even, but I think it's very much so. It isn't what I expected. Let's put it that way. I'm very tired for some reason. I think this heat is exhausted me. But yeah, I think it's just one of those ones that it's caught me off guard. I wouldn't say it surprised me, but it definitely caught me off guard. I thought it would definitely be in Las Vegas and be a big showing for Canelo to regain a world title. And what is interesting is I don't really give Liam Smith some sort of realistic chance of winning this fight, but let's assume Canelo does win, and we're all going with what we kind of know may happen. I won't say it will happen, but it may happen. And let's put it that way. In terms of how he may progress, Demetrius Andrade is a fascinating matchup. Erislandy Lara again is a potential opponent in a rematch. There are sort of opponents there. There are good opponents at 154. I know he's avoiding GGG and he's ducking him, but from what it looks like it. But there are a lot of potential matchups at 154. He is going after the weakest sort of link at 154, but it is one of those things. So tired. Work's just tired me out. I think it's the weather as well, certainly, again. But I think Canelo obviously is one of those guys. He's going to be pushed regardless, and he's going to get opportunities regardless. He's the biggest pay-per-view star now at the moment. So it's just one of those ones. I think it's definitely going to be hot on the agenda straight after the fight. Should he win? But good luck to Liam Smith. As I said, I didn't think the fight was going to actually happen. Me and Tom O'Brien, Irish Tom, on the podcast, we spoke about it. So it is one of those things, and I don't think Liam Smith is going to be winning, but it will be interesting to see how he comes out of it. If he performs credibly, it will be a very, very good for his career. Liam Williams potentially there, for a domestic dust-up for Frank Warren. There could be a lot of good things to happen to Liam Smith, and we'll wait and see come September 17th. I didn't actually get tickets to Cal Brook versus Golovkin, which is a bit disappointing, but it's certainly one of those things, and I'll have to end up watching on TV. I think everyone now is probably now bored of watching me, and so I think I'm going to wrap it up now. Thank you to everyone who posted in the live chat. Really, really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the live stream, please do leave a thumbs up, and thanks to everyone who will watch the live stream after it's been uploaded on YouTube. So I really do appreciate that, and I'm hoping more people will tune in every week or every time I do a live show. It will be really, really good and really interesting to hear more people's thoughts. So take care, guys, and I'll speak to you soon. Speak to you on the podcast on a Wednesday. And take care, guys. Speak to you soon. Enjoy and peace.